laughed at for being black. His response left everyone silent. He only wanted to buy a car, but the moment he stepped inside, their eyes said everything. To them, he was a joke. Another man who didn't belong in a luxury showroom. But what they didn't know was that this man's silence would soon speak louder than all their laughter. The morning sun hit the glass walls of the dealership like golden fire. Inside, two salesmen stood by a brand-new red sports car, joking, sipping coffee, waiting for a real customer. Entertain none. Someone in a suit, someone who looked rich. Then the door opened. A black man in simple jeans and a brown t-shirt stepped in, quiet but confident. His shoes weren't polished, and his hands looked like they'd known hard work. Instantly, the laughter faded, replaced by smirks. Sir," one of them said, walking up slowly, "used cars are on the next street." The man smiled politely. "I'm not here for a used one. I'd like to see that one." He pointed toward the shiny V12 model behind them, the coupe. The salesman blinked. "You mean this one?" He looked at his colleague, suppressing a grin. "Yes," the man nodded calmly. "How much is it?" The laughter began again. "You sure you can afford to even sit in it?" The other salesman chuckled. "It's over 300,000. The man didn't flinch. "I'll take a look anyway." They shrugged and stepped aside, whispering to each other. As he ran his hand across the hood, he could hear them behind him, snickering, whispering about how some people dream too big. When he asked for a test drive, they refused. "Sorry," one said smugly. "We don't let everyone drive this one. Company policy." But the tone said everything. "We don't trust you." The man's calm eyes met theirs. "All right," he said softly. "Then I'll just talk to your manager." They exchanged looks, amused. "Good luck with that." Minutes turned to 10. The salesman returned to ignoring him. One even told another customer loudly, "We get all kinds walking in here these days. Some just want selfies." The man stood quietly in a corner, staring at the car. But in his stillness, something was building, a storm they didn't see coming. When the manager finally appeared, he looked puzzled. "Can I help you, sir?" "Yes," the man said calmly. "I was interested in that coupe. But your team here doesn't seem to take me seriously." The manager gave a polite, forced smile. "Oh, I'm sure they were just busy." Behind him, the salesman grinned. To them, this was entertainment. But the man didn't laugh. He simply pulled out his phone, made a call, and said, "Yeah, I'm at the downtown branch. Come here in 10 minutes. Bring the briefcase." The room went silent. 10 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up outside the showroom. A man in a suit stepped out, holding a silver briefcase. He walked straight to the black man, handed it to him, and left without a word. The salesmen exchanged nervous glances. "What's that?" one asked, pretending to joke. The man smiled faintly. "Down payment." He placed the briefcase on the counter and opened it. Inside were stacks of crisp $100 bills. The air went still, like sound itself was afraid to move. "Wait, sir, this isn't necessary," the manager stammered, his polite smile evaporating. "I'll take that car," the man said evenly. Then he paused, looked back at the salesman. "Actually, make it two. The red one, and the white one outside." No one spoke. The two salesmen stared, faces pale, their fake smiles gone. He pulled out his ID and placed it on the counter. Michael Carter, owner, Carter Holdings. The manager blinked. Carter Holdings? You mean the real estate firm that— Yes, the man cut in quietly. We just finalized the acquisition of your parent company this morning. The silence was suffocating now. The same men who had mocked him minutes ago were standing still, realizing they hadn't insulted a customer. They'd insulted their new boss. He took a deep breath, turned toward the red coupe, and whispered, "Funny, isn't it? How quickly respect changes. Once money walks in." He walked out calmly as the cameras captured his signature on the receipt. The salesman stood there, speechless, ashamed, and shaken. Outside, sunlight reflected off the two luxury cars waiting at the curb. Michael looked up at the dealership sign, the same place that had just humiliated him, and smiled softly. "One day," he murmured, "they'll learn. You don't judge a man by his color. You judge him by his character, and how he treats others when no one's watching." The engines roared to life. As he drove away, both salesmen stood frozen by the glass, watching their careers slip away, with the sound of those cars disappearing. Down the street, the dealership was silent long after Michael left. The manager stood still, trying to process what had just happened. The salesmen, the same men who laughed, who mocked, who whispered, now couldn't look each other in the eye. One of them finally spoke, his voice trembling. Did he say, "Carter Holdings"? The other nodded, pale as chalk. "He's our new owner. We just humiliated him." The manager exhaled sharply. "You two better pray he doesn't report this." But deep down, he knew it didn't matter. The damage was already done. Outside, the dealership cameras had caught everything. By the next morning, the footage went viral. Black man buys 2 cars after being insulted by racist salesmen. Millions watched. Some were angry, some inspired, but everyone felt the same shock, the way arrogance collapsed in front of quiet dignity. Meanwhile, Michael sat in his office, high above the city, overlooking the skyline he'd once dreamed of as a kid, washing cars for $5 a day. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Reporters, investors, strangers calling him a hero. But he didn't smile. He didn't want revenge. He wanted change. He remembered that day years ago when his own father was denied a test drive because of his skin. He had promised himself then, "If I ever make it, I'll never let anyone feel that small again." As he stared at the photo of his late father on the desk, his assistant walked in. "Sir, the dealership staff are requesting a meeting. They want to apologize in person." Michael looked out the window, the city lights flickering below. "Let them come," he said quietly. "But I don't want an apology. I want them to learn." The next morning, all 3 men arrived at his office. Nervous, rehearsed, broken, the salesman apologized over and over, promising they'd change. Michael listened silently, hands folded. Then he said, "You know what hurts most? Not your words, but how easy they came out. You didn't even think. No one spoke." He continued, "You thought you were laughing at a poor man. But what if I really was poor? Would I deserve less respect?" They lowered their heads, speechless. "People like you don't just sell cars," Michael said. "You sell experiences, dreams, and today you sold humiliation." The room was heavy, not with anger, but with truth, and that truth burned deeper than any punishment ever could. A week later, Michael visited the same dealership again, not as a customer, but as the owner. This time, every employee lined up near the entrance, waiting silently as he walked in. No laughter, no arrogance, just respect. He walked past them, not saying a word, and stopped beside the red car, the one that had started it all. Running his hand along its surface, he whispered, "Same car, different energy." The manager approached carefully. "Mr. Carter, the team is ready for your announcement." Michael turned and faced everyone. "From today," he began, "this dealership will be known for one thing, not just luxury, but equality. Every customer, rich, poor, young, old, black, white, will be treated with the same respect." He paused, scanning their faces. "Because the color of money may be green, but the value of humanity is priceless." Applause filled the hall, soft at first, then stronger, emotional. The salesman who once mocked him now looked up with wet eyes, realizing the man they humiliated had given them a chance to redeem themselves. Michael smiled gently. "We all make mistakes," he said, "but we can choose to never repeat them." From that day, the dealership transformed. They started diversity training, community drives, free car service days for low-income families. And every new employee had to watch that security video as a lesson in humility. Months later, a journalist asked Michael, "Why didn't you fire them? You had every right to." He smiled, looking down for a moment. "Because power isn't about punishing others," he said softly. "It's about proving that kindness can do what cruelty never will." The interviewer paused. "And what do you want people to remember you for?" Michael looked out at the city skyline, the same place where he once dreamed of belonging. "I don't want them to remember me," he said. "I want them to remember the lesson. Respect people when they're small, because one day you'll meet them when they're big. True wealth is not in your wallet. It's in your character."